This is Brent Allen Winters, commonlawyer.com, and we're going through a catechism of the Constitution of the United States written by a fellow named Stansbury, the year 1828. Now, if you're a student of American literature, you'll remember the year 1828. 18 and 28. That's the same year that another great educator in America published the first real dictionary of the American English, called Webster's Dictionary. He didn't try to find out how people were using the words no, that's what all the other dictionaries did. He went to the Bible and he said, how does God define this concept that this word has? And he wanted to establish American English as a separate dialect that took all of the meanings of its words from the Bible. Webster's Dictionary of 18 and 28. Same year this was published. A lot of good things were going on in education in 18 and 28 in America. Well, let's start where we left off. I'd like to get through about 10 questions today, Miss Francine. Question number 4 of this catechism of our Constitution of the United States. Had then the different states which united together each a government of its own? Yes, but they agreed to put themselves under one general government. That's the question we left off with. Question number 5. Why did they do this? Answer: because it would promote their general welfare. They got together and said, we're going to each of us give up just a little bit of the responsibilities of our state governments and give those responsibilities to the general government in Washington, D.C. Not a lot, but just a little. Why? Because we want to establish a general welfare for all of us. General welfare? What does that mean? Let's think about that just a minute. You know, it says in our Constitution, we, the people of the United States, the people, that's the militiamen, of the states united, the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, number 1, establish justice, number 2, promote the general welfare, number 3, welfare, general welfare, ensure domestic tranquility, number 4, provide for the common defense, number 5, do ordain and establish this Constitution of the United States. Now, if I left any out, you'll correct me. But I know those are there. That's most of them. We, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, and promote the general, did I say general? Do establish and ordain this Constitution for the United States of America. To promote the general welfare is the stated reason, one of them, for that our Constitution of the United States. Now, how is the general welfare different from anything other kind of welfare? Well, you got two kind of welfare. You got specific welfare, that's aimed at a specific target group or a specific person, and you got the general welfare. Our Constitution of the United States is not there to provide any specific welfare to anybody, specific. It's there to provide the general welfare. What's the general? The word general means it applies to everybody. Our government of the United States does not have any authority, because the Constitution says so, any authority to do anything specifically for any specific group of people. They have authority only to do things that apply to everybody equally without distinction. Just like when you go to school and some guy's in the back trying to eat a candy bar. You're in grade school. What happens? Well, the teacher says, are you eating a candy bar? Yes, bring it up here. Now, can you provide a candy bar for everybody in here? Oh, no. Well, then you can't eat a candy bar. Or let's take this example. That's, specific. I'm not going to allow you to do something specifically if I can't allow everybody to do it. It's not fair. Teacher comes in and gives a piece of candy to everybody in the class. We say, well, that's okay. That's a general welfare. She's giving welfare to everybody in the class. She's not playing favorites. But she'd come into class one day and just give one piece of candy to one girl who's her favorite little girl. People are going to get ticked about that sooner or later. That's called specific welfare, and it's not fair. Nope. So in the general government in Washington, D.C., I call it the general government, and that's what they used to call it. We say the federal government. Now let's call it the general government, because the only authority the general government has is to provide. If they want to provide something, they got to provide it for everybody equally. That's what the word general means. Applies to everybody equally. That's why, one of the great reasons why we have this Constitution. Number 6, question 6 in this Catechism of the Constitution. Is some government necessary in every country? Answer, certainly. Certainly. Without it, nobody would be safe. Not only our property, but our lives would be in danger, and our liberty. There must be some government. Why? Because men are not what? What did Madison say? Men are not, I'm talking about James Madison. He's called the framer of our Constitution. He was the foremost student of John Witherspoon of Princeton College, now called Princeton University. John Witherspoon was the unofficial leader of the Enlightenment in Scotland, persuaded to come to America, the only clergyman to sign our Declaration of 76, John Witherspoon, James Madison's student. Witherspoon is called the educator. He was professor to many men that signed our founding documents. Witherspoon. Madison said, because Madison was taught by Witherspoon. Witherspoon was a Presbyterian, Reformed. He was a Reformed man. What does that mean? Reformed Christianity. That means we believe the Bible. God is big. That's what Reformed means. God is sovereign. Nobody calls his hand, and no man's decision trumps God's, period. God is the final decider of everything. That's called Reformed Christianity. That's what John Witherspoon was. That's what James Madison was. Matter of fact, everybody in America was, almost to a man. That's the only thing that was here, was Reformed Christianity. Dutch Reformed, Presbyterianism, Puritanism, and includes Congregationalism, all Reformed. I want you to learn that word, Reformed. Look it up, Reformed. It's an unhappy word. It doesn't really describe the doctrines. I don't know how, well, I know how it came about, but it's not, it doesn't fit, but that's what we call it, Reformed Christianity. That's the Christianity that America has rested on. Without it, we don't have anything left. One of the chief doctrines of Reformed Christianity is that men are not partially depraved. Men are not born neutral, neither good nor evil. Men are not born good. Babies are not born neutral, a blank slate. They're not born that way. No, babies are born and conceived in sin and depraved and redeemable. But otherwise, they are perfected in their taint of sin, and that it will only get worse. To look at babies, they're innocent in the sense they haven't experienced sin yet, but their problem isn't sin, this sin or that sin. Their problem is like you and me, and we were babies once. Our problem is sin, the principle of sin, because the taint of sin, it's like a cancer, is in our being when we're conceived. That's what, now you say, I don't like that doctrine. Well, that's what these men believe, and because these men believe that, Madison said this. This is what I'm driving at. Madison said, men are not angels. That's why we need government. And Paul the Apostle says that in Romans chapter 13. The powers that be, he says, do not bear the sword in vain. That means do not bear the sword to no purpose. Do not bear the sword for nothing. No, they bear the sword for an ordained job that God gave them. And when government doesn't do that, when government says, takes right for wrong and wrong for right, when government punishes the men that have done good deeds and rewards men that are evil, well, God says you need to make a change. And that's what America did. Do we need to do it again? Well, if God says so, yeah. If you want a test whereby we may know if we need to do it again, go to commonlawyer.com and get the book, called A Common Lawyer Comments on our Constitution of the United States and Declaration of 76, or the other way around, Declaration of 76 and Constitution of the United States. And in there, this common lawyer unpacks the 6 things that must be present before a people has authority from God to change their government back to what it ought to be. In America, we changed our government. We just said we want to change it back to what we had before. We don't want anything new. And our Constitution of the United States is nothing new. It would promote their general welfare. When the government of the United States says, we're going to give a benefit to you if your skin is darker than white. I'm half white and half black. Well, you qualify black then. Well, I'm half black and half, I'm not even black. My dad was part white. Did you know most African people in America of African descent, most all of them, carry quite a bit of white blood in their veins? That's easy to show, just a matter of historical fact. Well, how much black Africanism have you got to have in your veins to get this special welfare from the government of the United States? That's unlawful, friends. And it becomes confusion. You see the confusion? What if you're 80%, over 80%, according to the best studies I've read, over 80% of all Americans whose families, any part of their family has been here before 1850, carry the blood of red men in their veins to varying degrees. It's nothing unusual. It's part of being an American almost to do that. Well, then why do they, the ones that say they're American Indian tribesmen, they get special consideration? Why is it they aren't taxed on food when they go to their stores, their grocery stores on the reservation? Why do they get special consideration that way? They're citizens of the United States by an act of Congress back in the 1920s, if they want to be. Oh, they can reject it if they want, but he said, hey, come on in. We're not trying to keep you out. Well, I have something to think about. That's all I'm saying. Most red men in America have white blood in their veins, most of them. Why are we making these silly distinctions anymore? I'm trying to stress that to single out people because of a characteristic or a sexual perversion they may have and say they get special consideration, or maybe because they're a different sex, now you get special consideration. We're going to fill the ranks of our officerships of our armed forces with females. Well, we're doing it. And transvestites. You have a sexual perversion. Oh, come on in. We need you. But you're a normal guy. You're straight. You're heterosexual, and you want to be a naval officer or an army officer? No. We don't want you. That's not general welfare, friends. That's playing favorites. I am encouraged. The Supreme Court of the United States just recently did away with, in the judicial branch, affirmative action. They just did away with it with one fell swoop, stroke of the pen. Boom, it's gone. Been around for decades. Justice Thomas, who probably is one of the few people of African descent in America that doesn't have any white blood in his veins, from a place where the white folks just never went much, out there on the coast of the Carolinas or wherever, with Georgia. Pinpoint's the name of the place, I think. Little town. He's one of the few. He agreed with that. He was a recipient of affirmative action. That's how he got into Harvard. They wanted people that were black. The blacker the better, as they used to say. Well, they got the black man in there. Well, God do work in mysterious and strange ways, and he makes straight licks with crooked sticks, and that's what affirmative action is. It's a crooked stick. It's unlawful. It doesn't promote or have anything to do with the general welfare of the United States. This is Brent Allen Winters, commonlawyer.com, and this is a Common Lawyer Comments concerning our common law and the chief expression of our common law in our country, the most salient expression of our common law, the solidest stepping stone in recent centuries of our common law is our Constitution of the United States, and we're going through the Catechism.